This is Orlando Sentinel Now.
Hello and welcome. It's Tuesday, August 10th, and this is Orlando Sentinel Now. Today, we're talking about a COVID-19 update here in Orange County. We're also talking about Florida's slow population growth and the return of MegaCon to Orlando. I'm your host, Joe Mario Pedersen, and joining me today, I have Orange County government reporter Stephen Hudak, columnist Scott Maxwell, and content editor Kathleen Christensen. Thank you all so much for being here today. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Steve, coming to you first for one of your latest. Orange County is moving its vaccines to Camping World Stadium and opening a third testing site. Now, a lot to unpack in this recent update from Orange County, but first things first, let's talk about vaccines. Why are they moving to Camping World Stadium?
It's actually a smart move. The vaccines that have been done by the county for months at Barnett Park, and Barnett Park is this park in West Orange. It's like Pine Hills area off of Colonial Drive, and it has been packed. And it has been packed not with people getting vaccines. It's been packed with, it's also the COVID testing site. And so there are actually signs. It's like going to a theme park because it says it's 2 hours from this spot. It's 3 hours from this spot. And it's frequently backed up on Colonial Drive. And while they've been getting like 1,900 people a day to get COVID tested, they get about 150 to get vaccinated. And they're trying to remove every possible obstacle. And I had mentioned to the public safety director, Danny Banks, last week, I said, you guys have to do something about this. I've talked to people that were getting vaccinated there, and they said they almost left because it was so long. And he promised that they'd do something logistically. And I think this is it. It's still in the same area. It's very accessible. Camping World's very accessible. They set up tents last night. So I think that they're hoping that they'll get as many as 750. They hope to get more than 750, but that's the target right now, 750 a day. So that's why, because if you go over there, people are so worried about having the virus, and some people are required to be tested regularly because they won't get vaccinated. Their employers say, fine, then you'll have to get tested every week or every other week or whatever it is. So that's kind of why they've done that.
Steve, there was a lot of news that kind of came out of Orange County's most recent update. But one thing I do want to ask you about is what we learned about tourism. Tourism being, of course, one of the biggest economic generators in the area. What did we learn about the state of tourism for the county?
We can tell you what it was in June. The tourist development tax, the hotel tax, bed tax, which we used to pay off the enormous cost of the convention center. It's helped build Dr. Phillips Performing Arts Center. It's done the renovations to Camping World. It's done some other things like that. That's all from a 6.5% levy on hotel rooms. So in June, we collected more tourist development tax, hotel tax revenue than we have since the pandemic began. The last time we had collected this much money was in February of 2020. So it's still below what we got in June of 2019, which was the last June that was pre-pandemic. So, but like the numbers are good because we had been dipping into reserves to pay off bills for things. We haven't done that now for 2 consecutive months. We put $1.5 million into the reserves, into the financial reserves for tourist development obligations. We have spent so much money. It would take 8 years collecting that much additional money every year, every month to make up what we spent. Over $135 million or something. From 180 some million to like 40 some million in reserves. But the numbers were still good. But Phil Diamond, who's the comptroller, and he's the one that tells us about these numbers, he tracks them. He's worried about other numbers, and those numbers are 20% positivity rate over 14 days, more than 1,800 or more than 1,000 new cases every day. So those things, those are worries. That's one of the reasons 4 different conventions have canceled. 4 of them canceled last week. 3 of them were to be held this month. So, but two of them involve medical professionals who might be busy doing other stuff where they're coming from.
A lot of details to keep up with this. If you guys are trying to find out more, be sure to take a look at Steve's work available at orlandosentinel.com. Steve, thank you so much. All right, moving on to our second story here. Florida has been known as the fastest growing state in America. However, recent reports show us that that is changing. To talk to us about that now, we're turning to Scott Maxwell. Scott, what can you tell us about what we're learning about Florida's slowing growth?
Yeah, you are right, Joe Mario, that we've long been known a boom state, and I would say that's primarily a result of a few things. One, we have warm weather and hundreds, actually about 1,300 miles of coastline, but things really picked up after the invention of the air conditioning, and about 100 years ago when citizens of this state banned income taxes. All of a sudden, those things made it very popular, and as you mentioned, we've long been a boom state, but what's interesting is that is changing. And the reason I first noticed it is we were getting new congressional seats. And for the first time in many decades, we're only getting one new congressional seat because we've usually gotten two, even three, I think four one year. And that's because our growth has slowed. And to put that in perspective, growth that averaged about 3% a year through the 70s and 80s, as high as 6% down in 2000, we're now at 1.1% annual growth a year in Florida. So that is pretty significantly less. To put that in perspective, I used to say people would come to Florida because we're sort of like living in the Caribbean, except without the civil unrest and a lack of running water. Well, for the past couple of years, Haiti has actually outpaced us on population growth. Not by much, but slightly more people. They have a higher percentage of people going there. So something has changed for Florida.
Now, Scott, with the slow in growth, I mean, what do you attribute to that? Is there any indication?
Yeah, I think there absolutely is. And we see the stories in the pages of the paper all the time. Florida is not a cheap place to live anymore. It used to be known as the land of opportunity, and you could come down here and get a job. It might not pay much, which we've long known, but you could afford to live here. Well, that's just not the reality for a lot of people. Right now, as you know, here in Metro Orlando, we are dead last in wages among median wages among major cities, 50th out of 50. Meanwhile, the median house price is skyrocketing, hitting new record highs around $300,000. So people come down here, they think it's a land of opportunity, but then you find that maybe you can have a job in Orlando, but you're going to have to live in Lakeland or St. Cloud. And I think a lot of people, a 45-minute or hour-long commute wasn't their idea of paradise. So some people are packing it up after they move in.
Now, Scott, but before the show started, you and I were talking about this, and one thing that you pointed out was how Florida politicians and leaders here in the state have justified their actions or policies based on the increasing population and the faster rate that it was coming in. Now, with this slowing rate, is that an excuse, or are they going to be able to still justify these actions? Does that
Oh,
hold?
oh, that's cute, Joe Mario. You think that the facts have something to do with what the politicians say. If we were closer, I'd pat you on your head.
I'm a
But no,
dreamer. What can I say?
but to your point, that was kind of what part of what another thing I was thinking about. It's a really lazy and typical tactic of Florida politicians throughout the history of time. They can get involved in a scandal. They can do really stupid things. They can do dangerous things. And no matter what they do, they go, "Oh yeah, well if I'm doing such a lousy job, why is everybody moving to this state?" Well, everybody's always moved through this state. I mean, if that's the barometer for what makes a good governor, then we've never had a bad one because there's always been population growth. But right now, as you mentioned, we're at a modern low right now. If you believe that Florida governors and population growth is a reflection of how good of a governor they are, then Jeb Bush was a very good governor because it was 6% during one of his years. But the best Democrat in modern history, if you're going by population growth, then was Leroy Collins, a Democrat back in the 1950s who had 8% growth. Again, I don't think it has much to do with that. I think there are a lot of other factors, and the factors that are at play now, and why I think growth is slowing has a lot to do with the economy and what it takes to earn enough money to live in this state.
Certainly. If you're all are interested in this topic, you can find out more certainly in Scott Maxwell's column coming out later this afternoon. Scott, thank you so much.
You bet.
All right, Kathleen, I want to come over to you now for some very exciting news this weekend. We got a 4-day event coming up, the return of MegaCon. Many people, of course, being very disappointed about its cancellation last year. But hey, it's back in town and we've got some information on it. What are some things that people should know before they go?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's really excited. There's a lot of conventions that are canceling, like Steve mentioned, but MegaCon's saying the show must go on. So it kicks off on Thursday and it wraps up on Sunday. People will get the chance to meet comic book creators, celebrities, which is a big highlight for a lot of different people. They can shop. There's Funko Pop figures, comic books, things like that, artwork. Tattoo artists will be there, voiceover actors. So it's just a really good opportunity for fans of pop culture to interact with other fans and with some of their favorite characters.
It is really exciting to see that this is coming back. As a nerd myself, certainly some comic book artists and writers that are going to be there that I'm excited about. But talking about the guest list, who is going?
Yeah, so you can check MegaCon's website because they are constantly updating it. There's new additions that you can find, as well as, unfortunately, some people have to cancel because of scheduling conflicts. For example, the Lord of the Rings hobbits, I know people were very excited about them coming, but they had to cancel. And I just checked this morning, and some of the Office characters had to cancel. So some of those actors will not be there, but I'm really excited. The Full House actors will be there. Bob Saget, Dave Coulier, and John Stamos will be there. So I'm super excited about that one. I know a lot of other people are excited about that as well. There will still be some people from The Office represented. Just any kind of pop culture that they can draw on, they try to incorporate into the event. And the creators said that they try to bring new people every year so that it's not just the same lineup of actors and that they're appealing to a wide range of interests.
So Kathleen, as you mentioned, we were seeing cancellations over at the convention center, and of course that's due to the rising rates of COVID-19. So with that in mind, what safety requirements have been made into effect while visiting the convention center?
Yeah, so everybody visiting the event will be required to wear a mask, and it's not just that fun like Halloween mask. It's an actual face mask that you need to wear. So you can check their website because they have detailed, like I think it's no neck gaiters, nothing with a valve, stuff like that. So you can find more detailed information there. They're going to have hand sanitizing stations everywhere throughout the convention center. They're not doing temperature checks, but they are following CDC guidelines. So there's some more information in my story, and there's also Steve wrote a really great story about the different health precautions that are being taken at the Orange County Convention Center. So you can check that out there. And then as far as planning goes for MegaCon, the creators said it's really important to plan ahead. So you can do that by visiting MegaCon's website. And they also have a really handy app this year that will literally let you plan out your entire day and what sessions you want to attend and what celebrities you want to see. So that's another little tidbit you might want to check out.
If you're all looking for that full guest list, be sure to take a look at Kathleen's story available right now at orlandosentinel.com, where, of course, you can find all the other stories that we talked about today and much more about what's going on in our community. For those of you who are subscribers to the Orlando Sentinel, thank you so much for continuing to support our work and supporting local journalism. If you want to become a supporter, it's easy to do so. All you need to do is visit orlandosentinel.com/subscribe. But as for OSN, that will do it for us today. A big thank you to Steve, Scott, and Kathleen for keeping us filled in what's going on in our community. We'll be back again with more news tomorrow at noon. We'll see you then. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Watch Orlando Sentinel Now live every weekday at noon on our Facebook page and on orlandosentinel.com.